Yes, what's up, beautiful loved ones? Shit. About a year ago, I did a video on breath and the importance and significance of breath. So here's a practice to notice how deeply someone is in their breath, and that is the rate at which they're speaking. When somebody is speaking very quickly, without much pause, their breath is very shallow. And when they're speaking slowly, enunciating every word, their breath is deep. So notice in conversations, silence. I have a lot of people in my life who are really uncomfortable with silence. It's almost like this evil character that sneaks up on them in the middle of expression. That silence in the mind of an ego is the absence of expression. Yet in the heart of an awakened being, silence is the full expression of everything the universe has to offer. In my experience, those who are uncomfortable with silence are typically uncomfortable with what's going on within. Thus, they need some sort of external stimulus at all times to help them deny and avoid what's going on within. And in my experience, the way to come to peace and to come to harmony with the emotions, the insecurities, the pain, the triumph, the joy of what's going on within is breath. Because it brings the flow of energy in the body to balance. And stillness is not the absence of movement, it is the harmony of movement. As if being on a carousel and moving around at a peaceful pace, it doesn't make you nauseous, but just allows you to experience the external environment outside of that carousel at a rate that your consciousness, your body can handle, creates a point of stillness in your being. So the same way that this occurs is the way that breath brings us into balance with what is forever changing around us. To slow the breath is the way that an overstimulated nervous system comes back into the body. When we feel unsettled, we are out of the body. And being out of the body is a very esoteric concept, but on a very practical and simple level, we are up here in our head space rather than in the heart space. To me, that's the definition of being unsettled. And all of this information comes from somebody who oftentimes is breathing in a shallow way. So to clarify, it is not bad to breathe in a shallow manner, nor is it good to breathe slowly. Because breathing deeply is an expression of love, and to breathe slowly is an expression of love, which goes beyond good and bad. To the settled, balanced nervous system, good and bad is not a matter of judgment. It's a matter of breath. When we're we're breathing in a shallow way, we find infinite expressions of energy, or at least fluctuations of our external environment to label as good and bad. I don't like that person because they make me feel this way. I like that person because they make me feel good. When one is breathing in a balanced, slow manner, the judgments of good and bad, which are the stimulus for our shallow breathing. Shallow breathing is the product of trying to control what is going on, trying to get change to be a constant. Is that right? Trying to get change to cease from occurring, whereas change is the only constant, meaning that what you are trying to control, the stimulus that is causing the shallow breathing, will always continue, but it will settle in our own experience, this change and fluctuation, when we find the space within our heart to slowly deepen our breath. The things we are running away from through addiction, through sensation, all of which is temporary, is a temporary remedy to shallow breathing that in the long run only makes our breath more shallow. For me, to avoid the anger and self-judgment that I've worked through over the past year, I would smoke weed. And when one smokes weed, in the short term, those feelings may subside. But in reality, from a physical perspective, the lungs, which are being filled with the smoke so frequently, actually are incapable of breathing as deeply as they once did. So while you numb those feelings, those temporary anger, judgments in the short term, you prolong their span, their time in the body by trying to run away from them, by breathing in a shallow manner. So the external stimulus creates shallow breath, but shallow breath creates our need for external stimulus. So it's a one-way remedy to a two-way problem, because the breath goes in and the breath goes out. Well, two-way, in, out. My point being that there's one solution to an infinite variety of problems we can come up by breathing in a shallow way. Even for the last week, as there's been so much smoke in the air in San Francisco from the fires up north, and may have all affected by this be blessed with returning to their shelters, being nourished with local organic sustainable food, be blessed with reuniting with their family members, be blessed with their animals and their loved ones being safe. And shout out to all the beautiful beings who have come together to support the evacuees. But even with that smoke in the air and all the emotions that come along with it, knowing that your fellow community members are being displaced and losing their homes, one can still breathe in a deep way. I talked to a coworker who was telling me, I'm really anxious right now because of all the smoke in the air. And ironically, if that person were to breathe more slowly, the anxiety caused by not being able to breathe would actually subside. If you look at the plant kingdom around you and the animal kingdom, It's all centered around breath. And we are in a symbiotic relationship with this plant kingdom, such that as we breathe in oxygen and exhale carbon dioxide, the plants absorb carbon dioxide and create oxygen. So to go with the flow of nature, to go with the flow as it's esoterically and spiritually worded, is simply to slow the breath, to come back into harmony with nature. There's a whole list of spiritual things that we can do and not do in order to heal. But ironically, a lot of the objectives and list of requirements we have in order to be grounded, uplifted, high vibrational, lack an actual instruction. Meaning that to elevate your vibration is a really broad objective and command. I'm feeling sad in my heart. Oh, elevate your vibration. Be truthful. Do your shadow work. And I think I've experienced that the mass population that is waking up, the second and third waves of ascension that are following the first, and if you're watching this, you are probably part of the first, they don't entertain spirituality because they cannot reconcile the third dimensional doing in action with a more etheric, light way of living. So ironically, they identify spiritual people who are engaging in far more subtle practices than just actions. They identify those people as being a group that drinks kombucha and grows out their body hair and is vegan. But these things are all expressions of what happens to one when they deepen their breath and they begin to live in a way where their breath is not affected by what goes on around them, or shall I say, their breath is not taken away from life, but they infuse breath into every moment of their life. That's the beauty of this. It's so simple. The Buddha's highest teaching was so subtle. He originally said, I will not teach this because no one will get it. And in speaking to the ascended masters, they came forth and said, you must teach this because there will be some that get this, and one day it will change the world. And in all the teachings on meditation and non-attachment and unity, the only instruction is breath, to deepen the breath. It always remains the same. All the mantra, the affirmation that we say are expressions of breath. And if there were to be one pure mantra, one precise, infinite, go for the gold, the highest teaching in the land, it would have no words. It would just be breath. So can we take the time on a daily basis to breathe more deeply? Breath is always around you. It's the most direct thing within the body that the soul controls, that the consciousness is in charge of. All the organs function without your commands, although your commands can help increase their function. But without your conscious intention, the breath does not deepen, it remains shallow, matching the breath of other human beings. And the collective unconscious, which is the accumulated pain and trauma and anger and negative emotion that is unresolved by a humanity so intent on ignoring and denying those emotions, is created by shallow breath. So to be an active participant in the healing of all humanity, a wayshower, a beacon of light to help guide those who have lost their way back home into their sacred heart space, there is just one thing that we must do, and that is deepen the breath. And it's as simple, as beautiful, and as fucking awesome as that. So for all the things you are struggling with, all the things that you are working out, no matter no matter how that is playing out, I honor your process. I honor your divinity. I honor your glory, your triumph, your ascension. I honor your pain. I honor your anxiety. I honor your self-doubt, your self-hatred. All emotions within you deserve more breath, not less. And may we unite in breathing more slowly, more deeply than ever before. You are loved. Loved you are. And that concludes today's message, concludes today's breath, although the breath is never ending. So may we put this information into practice by breathing more often in a conscious way. Look to the example of nature to see its harmony and symbiosis in the way that it breathes, and the answer will be found. Thank you.